Hi, I'm Connie Hertz, and I'm a former oncology nurse who greatly values helping people. Today, I'm a certified dream coach, giving people a blueprint to reach any dream they have for their life. Many of you watching this presentation are creating or have created a foundation to help a certain cause. A cause that may have come from a loss of someone close, a pain, or perhaps a tragedy. To create and sustain a successful foundation, you must first take care of yourself. I'm sharing with you today 3 obstacles that may be standing in your way to living in joy, and give you simple tips to move through these obstacles. When you can truly come from a place of joy, more of your present moments than not, you'll have more to give to others in your life and to those you are helping with your foundation. Do you agree? This will be an interactive short presentation. Please have paper and pen handy. You will be pausing this video during a few activities. Would you like more joy in your life? Do you let life get in the way of your joy? Would you like to learn a shortcut to joy? In the quiet of your own mind and heart, you and you alone know how much joy you live within each day. I identified 3 obstacles that could be standing in the way of your joy, and I will share with you some easy tips to help you live in more joy each day. Of course, there are many more obstacles to living in joy than just 3. Today, I'll share with you 3 of them. This is me during a very fun photo shoot. I had a lot of fun that day, living in joy. Some days are filled with stress more than others. Do you agree? Hopefully not many of your days are like this slide. Here are some words to describe joy. How can you live more often in these feelings? Can you remember exactly where you were at on 9/11 when the Twin Towers were being hit? It was the greatest hit on American soil we have ever seen. Life has not been the same in many ways after that day. We lost more than 3,000 people, and we all felt so much fear. For me, as I was watching the second tower being hit on our TV, my husband of over 20 years and the father of our 2 kids pulled up with a U-Haul and was leaving me for a 27-year-old. My fear has never been so intense in my entire life. As the Twin Towers came crashing down, my entire world as I knew it was too. Our daughter was a senior in high school and our son was a sophomore in college. I stopped eating much and I began living from one second to the next. Not a great senior year for my daughter. She helped take care of me. This is how I felt for quite a while afterward. I lived in so much fear, grief, depression, despair. I would scream to God to send someone to kill me since I couldn't do it myself. I truly didn't want to be alive anymore. I was filled with so much hate and anger and bitterness. I was wishing my husband and his girlfriend were dead. A friend of mine saw how bitter I was and suggested I attend a personal growth class with her. I'm not a stranger to personal growth. I took my first personal growth class when I was 19 in 1974. The first day of the 3-day class, a man got up to the podium and told how his wife had left him for a younger man. I sat there thinking, yeah, he understands what I'm feeling. Only next, he said it had been 22 years. I sat in my seat sobbing. I got it. If I didn't change how I felt, I would be him in 22 years. I would be angry and bitter, and it would destroy my life. This was not an option. This was a major turning point in my life. What turning points have you experienced in your life? I never got to thank this man. You see, he still wasn't ready to give his anger and bitterness up after all these years. He left that class after the first day and never came back. I began to choose joy. I realized it was up to me. I didn't really know how. Only being a part of this personal growth work gave me some answers. By the end of this presentation, you will have learned to explore 3 big obstacles to joy and will begin to recognize them and overcome them. Learn shortcuts to joy and do it as little as 17 seconds. You will learn to use the emotional scale that will help transform your life. Here are 3 obstacles I have identified that can stand in your way to living in joy. Of course, there are many more obstacles. Accepting limiting beliefs, beating yourself up, and not loving yourself. We all begin to accept limiting beliefs as a child, don't you agree? They may come from our parents, siblings, teachers, other children, our churches. This is me as a beautiful little baby. One of my first limiting beliefs began early on. I was 3rd out of 6 children born to my parents. All of the other babies were born with blonde hair. As you can see, I was born with a head full of coal black curls. My mom has told a story all of my life about telling the nurse to send me back when she first brought me to her. My mom thought I was black or Mexican and told the nurse I wasn't her baby. The nurse had to prove I was her baby. Now, each time my mom told this story, I felt like I didn't fit in. I didn't matter. I didn't belong. My older sister took it further and teased me and said I didn't belong in the family and that I was adopted. As a toddler, I felt so awful. I would climb on a stool in the bathroom and look in my own eyes and say, I hate you, and cry. As you can see, I was a beautiful girl. I've carried this limiting belief that I accepted throughout my life. It caused me to also beat myself up when I made a mistake or something didn't go as planned. Have you ever beat yourself up in your life? Today, when I go someplace that may be new or I'm not feeling confident, I can go back to feeling as if I don't fit in, I don't matter, and I don't belong. I now know what to do to shift these feelings as soon as I recognize them. This is what I'll share with you next. I'd like to take a couple moments to have you write down 3 things you will do to show yourself you love yourself in the next 48 hours. When I took my first personal growth class in 1974, they asked all of us to practice looking in the mirror into our own eyes and say, I love you. As I began to do this, I would cry every time. It took a while before I could look into my own eyes and say, I love you without crying. Over the next 48 hours, what I'd like you to do is look in your own eyes in the mirror and say, I love you. Add 2 more things, write these down. It could be taking a walk each day, doing exercise of some sort, paying attention to your nutrition. Whatever it is for you, please take some time to write these things down and begin to implement them each day. Go ahead and pause this presentation and do this. Here are some more ways to help you overcome the obstacles that prevent you from feeling joy. Press the pause button of your life. And what I mean by that is to stop, slow down, and stop living on autopilot. Take a deep breath. Taking a deep breath or 2 actually lowers your blood pressure, helping oxygen to flow throughout your body. As a former oncology nurse, I used to play with the blood pressure cuff on my own arm, and it really does lower your blood pressure, and it begins to relax you. Using your breath helps you to connect to God, Source. And then stop and appreciate for as little as even 17 seconds. There's been some studies that as we simply think about things or people we appreciate for as little as 17 seconds, we're beginning to create more of what we want to feel. A type of energy begins to form in this first 17 seconds. If you stop and focus on what you appreciate for 68 seconds, you are well on your way to shifting things around and moving to live in more joy. I'm a visual person, and you may be too. This emotional scale is something I use in everything that I share with others. You see, everything is energy. Each of our emotions are made up of energy and vibration. The emotions on the left side of this scale are higher in vibration than on the right. We're all human, so we will live on both sides of the scale probably several times each day. Wouldn't you rather live more of your moments on the left side of this scale? Me too. When my husband left me, I was at the very lowest vibration on the right side of this scale. I lived in despair, depression, fear, and powerlessness most of the time. I didn't know how to move up the scale on that right side, much less move over to the left side into love and joy and appreciation. I now use appreciation as a doorway to get from the right side of this scale to the left side. No matter where you're at on this scale, even the lowest number, you can stop and look around and find something to appreciate, can't you? If you're in traffic or in a long line, you may be at number 10 on this scale, irritation, impatience, and frustration, right? What if you catch yourself next time that you're in traffic or you're in a long line and you begin to smile at the store clerk, or you think of things that you appreciate? I guarantee you will shift your mood. I call this going on a rampage of appreciation. When you share what you appreciate with others, give them a compliment or share what you like, it actually adds power or energy to it. Right now, without thinking about it, write down a number on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least joyful and 10 being the most joyful. Where are you at? Don't think about it, just write the number down. Okay? Now for about 1 minute, I want you to take the time to write down everything you think of that you appreciate. Pause this presentation to do this. Now after you've done this, rate your mood on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you now? Did your number go up? Most of the time your number will go up and you will feel more joyful. What if you go on your own rampage of appreciation many times throughout your days? I had a client named Cindy who had a very stressful job. Cindy began to go into the bathroom stall several times a day and close her eyes. She took deep breaths and she thought about as many things as she could that she appreciated. In less than 1 week, Cindy reported back that she felt better inside. Her relationships with her family and co-workers were improving. Her mood was more joyful. If your number went up simply taking 1 minute to write down what you appreciated, think about how this would help you every day and then change your life to one filled with more joy, better relationships at home and in your work. So here's what you learned. You explored 3 obstacles to joy and you began to recognize them and overcome them. You learned shortcuts to joy and to do them in as little as 17 seconds. And you learned about the emotional scale. You now have some easy tools to use to shift yourself out of these obstacles and to live in more joy than you ever knew existed. I believe when you consciously find appreciation for others and express it, things will upset you less and less. In turn, others will begin to show you appreciation. Before you know it, you will be surrounded with many people who are appreciating you. Joy is not in things, it's in us. Today, I live in more joy than I ever knew existed. I have tools to use to shift me out of any obstacles and back into joy. This is a photo from my 60th birthday. I've been with Hale for over 13 years now, and my parents are celebrating with me, as well as my son and granddaughter and my daughter. I also have a grandson who just turned 1 and 2 older grandchildren from Hale's son. I share all of this with you since in the quiet of your own mind and heart, you now know how to reach joy. I hope you will love yourself and begin to practice some of the things I've shared with you. As you do this and learn to live from your passions and share your gifts, you will help raise the vibration of this planet. This is a photo from my second Kauai spiritual vacation retreat. One of my dreams comes true each time I host this magical retreat in paradise. I'm living from my passions and I'm helping the participants to transform and become who they were meant to be when they were born. Running a successful foundation requires you to be your best self. It starts from the inside. I'd love for you to join me in Kauai and begin your own journey to find joy. Visit my website to learn more at www.conniehertz.com. Thank you for all you do in helping others on their journey to find joy. Now go live in as much joy as you can in each of your present moments using the tools I shared with you today. Many blessings to all of you.